to meet you. Hi, thank you, Beth. Okay. So I'm talking today about a little different topic, but related, is the presence of pets or the presence of partners associated with better moods during people's daily lives. And my co-authors are Sue Thomas and Sandra McKinn. Okay. Psychological distress is associated with the development and progression of coronary heart disease, hypertension, and other chronic diseases. It's also been associated with cancer and survival in patients with a variety of cancers. Evidence suggests that social support is a mediator between the stressors of daily life and health outcomes. The cardiovascular health literature supports separate contributions of social support and pets from human partners to long-term cardiovascular health. In our prior research, both pet ownership and human social support made independent contributions to one-year survival after MI. Studies examining differences in mood between pet owners and non-owners are limited by potential confounders that may be responsible both for differences in mood and for pet ownership status. So we've conducted the first study that we know of that examines the effect of the presence of pet and the presence of partners on moods during daily lives of both pet owners and non-pet owners. Negative mood is associated with negative health outcomes and positive mood with positive health outcomes. One potential pathway for the health benefits from social support is that it enhances mood, and that enhanced mood contribute to decreased sensitivity to stressors and decreased stress responses. And pets and partners may both impact mood and thus potentially impact health through differences in mood. So our purpose was to evaluate the contributions of the presence of pet owners, pet dogs and cats, and of partners on mood during people's daily lives. And the population we used were older adults, defined as 50 and older, so a lot of us fit into that category now, who are living in the community and have pre to mild hypertension. So these are a population where we could actually see an impact of pet ownership on future health. So we recruited community living adults who either own a cat and or a dog or who do not own either. They're not cognitively impaired and their blood pressures are in the mildly pre-hypertensive or mildly hypertensive ranges. We had them complete a diary every 20 minutes at 3 different days. So this was over 3 different days, non-consecutive days. And we had them answer this, first of all, where they were, what they were doing, who was with them, how many pets were with them, and the last 20 minutes what they've eaten. And also to complete a mood inventory that had a lot of adjectives about how they were feeling at that time, and then whether they were not feeling that emotion, not at all too extremely, and they'd put a little tick, a little X, where that happened, where they evaluated themselves, and we would measure how long along the line they were to indicate how much they were feeling that. And we reduced mood to 2 factors by factor analysis. There were distressed mood, which included primarily frustration, anger, being unhappy, nervous, rushed, irritable, sad, or stressed, and happy mood, which was primarily alert, happy, accomplishing, and interested and energetic. And we used a Varimax factor rotation in computing the mood so that they were really separate moods, and in fact, they were not correlated with each other at all. The correlation was 0.013, so they're totally separate. And we analyzed the data using a linear mixed model analysis, which provides nesting of multiple measurements within people and also allows different numbers of measurements for each person. So you could have 20 measurements from one person and only 5 from another. We had a lot more than that. In terms of the participants, we had 8 males, mostly females, African Americans, Hispanic. Ages ranges from 50 to 85 years with an average of 39 years. The pet owners and non-owners, there were 29 pet owners and 31 non-owners, had similar demographics with the exception of race. We had more non-owners who were African American. Okay, we had a lot of mood assessments, as you can see. We had a total of 3,121 mood assessments. 1,704 of them were at home. This is important because pet owners rarely had assessments with their pets outside of the home, especially cat owners. There were almost none. So that when we did our analysis, when we wanted to look at the effect of pets, we really had to look at in the home. And then the out-of-home, we had everybody who was a pet owner and a non-owner in that analysis. Okay, and so there were 1,280 assessments that were at home with a pet. When we looked at pet ownership and at home, 711 people who were dog owners had dog present measurements, and 417 measurements were in the home with a cat present. And our definition of being present was in the room. So we asked whether, did I go back? Yeah, okay. We looked at the presence of pet and psychological distress in the home, and we found, if we looked at it, that when the pet was not present, dog owners were less distressed, were more distressed than when it was present. Yes, I didn't want to say. But there was no difference in distress in the home according to whether your partner was present or not, or whether a cat was present or not. Okay. So then we asked whether the differences were due to pet ownership status. And in the home, pet owners overall were actually more distressed than non-owners if you didn't consider the presence of the pet. So the lower distress when dogs were present was not just a difference between pet owners and non-pet owners. We looked at the effect of the presence of a partner on psychological distress, and that depended on pet ownership status. So that among pet non-owners, which is the yellow bars, the presence of a partner was associated with slightly more distress, while among pet owners, the presence of a partner was not associated with any difference in distress. Because of the potential influence of the presence of the pet on pet owners' mood when at home, we also looked at mood assessments when they were not at home. And this 0 is a difference score. So what you're looking at here is if it's positive, you have more than 0 difference. And if it's negative, you have less than 0 difference. Well, less than 0 difference, a negative difference. So when the partner was not present, you were seeing higher distress. When the partner was present, you're seeing lower distress. So we concluded that both pet ownership and the presence of a partner are associated with lower psychological distress scores out of the home. So to summarize what we found out about distress, at home, dog presence was associated with less distress, and the presence of a cat was not associated with distress in the home, in addition to this. So then we looked at happiness. And happiness, a higher score is more happy. We found that the cat's presence was associated with greater happiness, and also with the partner's presence was associated with greater happiness, but the dog's presence was not related to happiness. When we looked at Oh my goodness, I know this is scary. Okay, thank you. All mood assessments, the contributions of the presence of a partner to happiness, again, depended on pet ownership status. So among pet owners, happiness was significantly greater when the partner was present. Among pet non-owners, happiness was significantly greater when the partner was present. Among pet owners, again, there was not a significant difference in happiness between when a partner was present than when a partner was not present. This implies that happiness is worse for non-pet owners when their partner is not present, and either pet ownership or the presence of a partner was associated with greater happiness. So then we examine the effect of pet owners and partner present on happiness mood outside of the home. Okay, and outside of the home, pet owners were happier out of the home than non-owners. Pet owners had significantly fewer assessments out of the home and at work than pet non-owners. So the presence of a partner was not associated with mood out of the home when controlling for the presence of the pet. And so we're sort of asking about the effect also of being at work, because typically pets were also not at work. So the difference in pet owners could also be related to the number of assessments that were happening at work. So in the home, cat presence is associated with more happiness, and the dog was not. The presence of a partner was associated with more happiness both inside and outside of the home. So we remove the influence of pet ownership and the presence of the pet, and participants reported higher happiness when their partners were present than when they were not present if the assessment occurred outside of the home. So obviously, partners also were not present at work. So we really need to tease out the effect of work, and we'll be looking at that too in the future. So psychological distress has long been associated with the development and progression of heart disease. More recently, evidence has been accumulating that psychological distress is associated with the development and progression of cancer. And in fact, I'll just review two studies of cancer, because this is stuff you haven't seen at ISAS. We haven't seen much cancer work so far. So in a recent case control study of breast cancer in young women, the women with breast cancer had higher depression compared to controls and lower happiness and optimism compared with similar women who didn't have breast cancer. And psychological distress is associated with decreased survival of patients with cancer. So there's a potential for both of these, both happiness and distress, to be associated with other disease as well as heart disease. So cats and dogs made different contributions to positive mood, independent of the contributions of the presence of a partner and each other. Partners also make contribution to positive mood, independent of the presence of the pets. It's likely that the contributions of cats, dogs, and partners to mood are mechanisms for the relationship of these supports to health outcomes. Important next steps would be to look at what is actually happening with the pet and the people and how that relates to mood. For example, we didn't study what was going on in terms of interactions with the animals when we were doing the mood assessments. We just looked at were they present or not. So that's something that we would like to look at in the future. And we also looked just like at dogs and cats in general. We didn't look at anything about their personality types, their sizes, their breeds, and we didn't look at attachment. So those are also things that we would want to be looking at in the future. And actually, the attachment part is in this database, so it's something that we can in fact do. I can't believe it. I'm finishing on time.
4 seconds left.
4 seconds left. So I want to thank our sponsors. We got support from the Human-Animal Interaction Research Award and also the University of Maryland Nursing Center of Excellence in Cardiovascular Health and Aging. Thank you.